How modern games trick you into spending more. Former EA and Unity CEO. Oh God, is this the guy who said that they should pay $1 per bullet?
And substantial portion of digital revenues are microtransactions. When you are 6 hours into playing Battlefield and you run out of ammo in your clip and we ask you for $1 to reload, you're really not very price sensitive at that point in time.
A recent poll.
I haven't seen that clip in a long time. That is a classic clip. You know what's so funny? Former EA CEO. Remember when EA was like the most hated company in history? Yep, that guy was the CEO. Remember when Unity actually nuked itself like a year ago because it tried to change its whole fucking structure model and fuck everyone over? Yep. Guess who was also CEO at this time? Yep. You ever feel like in your life where you feel like you have imposter syndrome? You feel like you're not good enough? Just remember that this person has been CEO of two extremely large, multi-million, billion-dollar companies and is absolutely nuked both of them and still got a job and still got paid hundreds of millions of dollars. So don't feel so bad.
Ammo in your clip and we ask you for $1 to reload, you're really not very price sensitive at that.
Listen, okay, I've heard this so many times. I have imposter syndrome as a streamer, but I've heard this many times from people that work, especially in corporate. Is the higher up the ladder you go, the more you realize that the people around you aren't actually that smart. They're really not that impressive. They just got a chance to shine and they're not better than you. Like, yeah, there might be that one guy who's like insanely intelligent in math or analytics or just statistics, but it's one guy out of the whole room. The rest of them just got a chance. And sometimes you just got to get a chance and got to get lucky or somebody likes you or whatever it is. And they're really not that impressive.
At that point in time.
A recent poll in which EA was chosen as a semi-finalist for, quote, worst company in America.
The game
Okay, everyone's going to say pre-watched.
award goes to, oh man, I have to pay a microtransaction to unlock. That's so stupid.
The socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying.
A 13-year-old girl just spent her family's entire life savings on a mobile game.
As the football fan
Holy shit, I
platform
forgot
for the
about that.
world that can entertain 1 billion fans.
Holy fucking shit. Electronic Arts, EA's extra content revenue from 2018 to 2024. Jesus fucking Christ. They went from 233, is this in millions? Yep, revenue in millions USD, 233 million in just 5 years, or a little over 5 years. They doubled it, more than doubled it to 463 million.
Is that we're just getting
Also, I might have been covering that. If I was covering that, it was 463 million. I was in the way. So you can see it up here at the top right. That's crazy.
started.
How did gaming go from this to this? Despite most players.
Wait, what? I apologize. Listen, it's been a long day, okay? The revenue's in millions. So 2,000 millions is 2.033 billion. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm losing my goddamn mind, right? Once you go into thousands, it's billions. So up here on this one, it's 4.4 billion. My bad.
How did gaming go from this to this? Despite most players hating microtransactions, these in-game purchases make up 75% of revenue for many large studios.
Holy fucking shit. What? In-game subscriptions? Holy shit. 74%? Products? Jesus
75%
Christ.
of revenue for many large studios. That means tens of billions of dollars are being spent on stuff like this. It feels like this addiction that neither the player or companies can quit, and it's just dragging the industry down.
Ubisoft. Wait, when was this? November 1st? When did this video come out? A day ago. Holy shit. This is actually a brand new video. I didn't realize. I thought this was kind of old. This is Ubisoft's current stock price or close to current stock price. Hold up. 2.9. It's actually down. It's actually down since then. Holy
Hard. Now there is a path forward, and to understand how we get out of this mess, we need to jump back to the 90s when it all started, back to when the game industry was simpler, when consoles made up 80% of the market, when games were purchased at a store, and the internet was this new phenomenon. Because of these reasons, games couldn't be updated, so developers were focused on one thing and one thing only: packing in as much fun as possible into those tiny little cartridges. Just finished Super Mario World? Great, now go find all the secret levels. All done with Super Metroid? Well, why don't you try beating it again? There's a few other endings.
What is that? What is this ending?
With Super Metroid? Well, why don't you try
What is this ending?
beating it again?
Wait, the worst ending is with a helmet. Second ending is face opened helmet. Third is you
There's
lose
a
the
few
armor.
other endings. All done with GTA San Andreas? Well, why don't you try playing it with all these cheat codes? If a game didn't have
I'm not
a
a
great
knower, chat, I'm
story,
sorry.
fun gameplay, and tons of additional features at launch, people weren't interested, and they take their money elsewhere.
That is an amazing mustache, I
studio
must say.
developed with this mentality, putting fun and players first. Even companies like EA. Remember all these games? Sweet mercy there.
I have both fond and infuriating memories of The Sims 2. I tried to do like the story mode of The Sims 2, and the second house was the worst. I couldn't fucking get past the goddamn second house. People kept dying. I kept getting my shit burned. It was awful. It was so fucking ass. That second house was nightmare fuel. And you could never build enough money. You could never build enough wealth. Shit kept catching on fire. People kept doing stupid shit. It was so fucking horrible, and I couldn't stop playing it.
They were good. Now look at EA today. This is why people have so much resentment towards many modern games. It's why people love indies. They're a no BS full value package. You don't feel like you're being milked for all your money when you buy an awesome game like Fallen Worlds. I mean, just look at the ability customizations that are included. Yes, that is my game, and yes, it's not out yet, but there's a reason my team and I
it's
did
their
all this
game?
work to include these custom cosmetic wheels in our game.
That's cool.
And not put it behind a paywall. Because if you're going to pay $20, $50, $70 for something, you should get everything included and not get a pop-up asking for more and more.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is like if they can get more out of you, they're gonna want to, because especially publicly traded companies, when you invest in them, it is their legal requirement is to try to make you as much money as possible. Like they must do everything within their power to make you as much money as they physically can. Doesn't matter if they shouldn't shoot themselves in the foot for short-term profits or over long-term gains, but sometimes they do because they chase that higher number.
Let's see if it counted. No! I think I activated my premium battle pass. Like, if that's a one-click activation, f you, dude.
No way.
So, where did all this go wrong? Well, just like gaming, it all began in the arcades.
Wait, it was that simple in Diablo to buy? So Blizzard placed the Activate Premium Battle Pass button right next to the button you have to constantly press to check your season's journey. Guess what happened to me and at least 5 others on my stream? This is straight up malicious design.
Counted.
Oh my god.
No! I think I
That was the free one for launch?
activated my premium battle pass.
Wait, so it wasn't paid though, right? So we didn't actually lose any money.
Like, if that's a one-click activation, f you, dude.
So,
So it was a free one? It wasn't actually paid?
did all
I'm
this
confused.
go wrong? Well, just like gaming, it all began in the arcades, when a Japanese developer in the 1990s released Double Dragon 3, a side-scroller arcade game. What's different about
Yes, but people wanted to save it for better battle passes. Oh, so okay, so you got like a ticket, right? You got like a ticket to get a free battle pass, right? And they intended for you to use it on the first one. It wasn't free, it was paid for when you bought the premium game. Okay, so when you bought the premium game, you got a free ticket for a free battle pass. And then like say you wanted to skip the first one, so you would use it on like a future battle pass. That's what you're saying? And then the design of the game made it so that you, with one click, you would activate that free ticket. Even though they wanted to save the battle pass for later, or that ticket for later, the game basically made them buy it now because it was a one-click purchase. Damn, that's f***ed up, actually.
this machine than any other?
That's
is that
very
it
f***ed up.
produced a store.
Because then, you get that free one out of the way, they're going to buy a future one when they want it, right? So it's like it forces them to use it on the current one, which is what the design probably was, right? They wanted it to use on the first one. But if the first one wasn't good, by making them use it on the first one, then they'll buy the next one. That makes sense.
Specifically an item shop where you could purchase
Yeah, whether it's an accidental or intentional, it's shit design. I agree.
in-game
I'm just saying, like,
power-ups by inserting
I was trying to get a
more
better idea of
coins
what
into the
happened.
cabinet. In Double Dragon 3, you could pay for more health, more power, more abilities, and even more weapons. This had never been seen before in a video game, and according to Game Machine, a Japanese newspaper, it was the 3rd most successful table arcade unit of the month when it released. So people were paying. But despite its success, many gamers were angry. And as Top Hat Gaming Man put it in his video on Double Dragon 3,
the concept of a pay-to-win mechanic and microtransactions after you had already paid to play a game was simply preposterous, and it was transparent to gamers throughout the West how greedy these corporate gaming companies were becoming. The game was totally shunned, so Technos and East Technology would try to do better in Japan.
Thanks to the backlash, future versions of the game no longer featured microtransactions, and in-game purchases would go back into hiding, remaining dormant for a decade. At least until Korea picked it up again in the early 2000s with the introduction of Quiz. As I explained in another video, most Asian countries had a raging piracy issue in the 90s, with 9 out of 10 people pirating video games in Asia. So Asian game developers had to get creative, introducing free-to-play games with in-game purchases. Can't pirate something that's already free. Gotcha! But as Asian developers evolved, Western and Japanese developers looked down on them, believing the microtransaction model wouldn't work.
No shit. So that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, is the way they went about this and doing microtransactions was to fight against people stealing from them, right? Like piracy, you know what I mean? Like I'm a firm believer that if a item or something is reasonably priced and is available to you, most people don't want to pirate. They will pay what they believe is fair to own the item. It's all above board. Not everyone does this, but I like to think that a lot of people have no problem doing this. I think anime is a great example. If every anime you wanted to watch was always on Crunchyroll, I don't think people would have a big problem with it. But the problem is, though, there's so many times stuff's not there. It's on one of 10 different platforms or in streaming, right? Like Netflix and Disney or whatever. Once you start, okay, well, now I don't need 1, now I need 5, or I need 6, or I need 7. And it's like, well, this one only has it if you're in Canada. You have to be in Canada to get it. So you have to VPN to Canada. Once you start creating all these hurdles, right? Or let's say you live in a country, maybe say like Brazil, right? Like say you live in Brazil and the currency of Brazil is worth less than, say, the USD. In Brazil, that cost is significantly higher, potentially, like up to rent levels for something that in the US is maybe like pricey, but not that bad, right? And it's like, well, now it's almost unobtainable or unrealistic for you to get it, right? So it's like, you want that item, but you're not willing to put yourself in such a bad financial place to get it, so you'll pirate it. But like, if it wasn't like that, I think it wouldn't be that bad. That's what Thor did with his game, and his sales went up. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. There's obviously going to be bad actors who like will try to worm their way around it. Like maybe they'll VPN to one of those areas so they can buy something at a cheaper price, right? Like that can maybe happen as well, right? But I like to think that most people want to get things the right way. But there's a limit. They don't want to have 19 streaming services and paying for all of them a month just to watch one show. You know what I mean? So
that was until Bethesda.
I remember there was a celebrity who took a picture with her TV in the background, and she was streaming her laptop to her TV and using a site that wasn't the official one, and her reason was there's way too many subscription services to pay every single one every single month. I mean, I don't know about this particular instance. I'm sure people viewed it differently because if she's a celebrity, I'm assuming it's a rich celebrity. People typically view it a little bit differently. If the person has money, there's just no money. It's like them. It's like a us versus them mentality, right? You see it happen a lot with public figures. But are they wrong? Is there not like too many? Is it not just back to cable in a lot of ways, right? Like you paid a cable package for everything in one, you paid $100 a month. Now you just have a bunch of little streaming services that all pay $120 a month. You get what I'm saying? So
and Oblivion.
Stop right there, criminal scum.
Now Oblivion was one of my all-time favorite games.
Moon Attacker thing was 3
I played
months.
the crap out of this thing, and I still think it's in my top 10. I mean, the gold that has come from the NPC dialogue alone should put it in the top 5.
Great.
Oh, Oblivion. This is one of my GOAT games.
How does the day greet you, friend?
Although most players and critics alike loved Oblivion,
GOAT
it did
game.
have one thing that was hated above all: a horse with golden armor. This armor was released on April 3rd, 2006, and it cost $2.50 on console and $1.99 on PC.
I completely forgot that was even a thing. I don't remember that.
This horse armor, when it released, was mocked religiously. Who in their right mind would pay for something like that? It was dumb. It was lame.
Yeah, but how did it look on Shadowmere, though?
Like, what was Bethesda doing? And why the separate prices?
How did it look on Shadowmere?
Everything about this golden horse armor was odd. But you know what? I think it was calculated. Even though it seemed like a weird thing to do at the time, I mean, horse armor, Come on. But stop and think. Bethesda chose something small, something simple, because they were testing gamers' willingness to pay for in-game items. If you were a couple suits sitting around a table trying to figure out how to make more money off your game, wouldn't you want to
What was
test
that,
the waters
18
first?
years ago? Don't tell me Oblivion was 18 years ago. Don't do that to me. I don't need that existential crisis right now in my life. I don't need that. How many years ago was Oblivion? March 20th, 2006. Wait, people that were born the year this game came out can vote. Fuck. Pack it up, man. Pack it up.
See how your audience behaves with something simple before going deep. Even test different prices to see what people would pay on different platforms. Well, just like Double Dragon 3, people were not happy about it. They didn't like what Bethesda was doing. I found this old forum from 2006 discussing the horse armor, and there were a few people who were excited about it.
I always wanted a solid
but
gold horse.
Most were not. What was even better was that some people were predicting the future based off of Bethesda's behavior.
More immersive? How about a card reader on the side of your TV where you can just swipe your debit card where you visit a merchant in-game? Come to think of it, fuck you guys. I'm going to the side with these ideas. Twisted. Nah, seriously, these people need to be sterilized and not infect the world with their spawn. Damn, I'm really losing time.
Look at this comment. More immersive?
Oh, phones
in
prepay.
response to a positive comment. How about a card reader on the side of your TV where you can just swipe your debit card whenever you visit a merchant in-game? How about prepaid Oblivion gift cards? Sound familiar?
Oh no.
Wow, they have it!
You know what's funny? I went to Walmart the other day to get some milk and some other stuff, and there was a Fortnite V-Bucks gift card that was sitting on like that counter with like, you know, like it's like seasonal items like Oreos, you know, the seasonal Oreos and shit, sitting right there. Somebody picked up a V-Bucks card and they were forced to put it back, and I was like, damn,
Thanks
dude,
to all
that's
the
tough.
backlash, Bethesda got scared and they released their next title, Skyrim, microtransaction.
Some kid was forced to put back his V-Bucks.
Like Bethesda took this negative feedback.
Mom said no.
From these forums and from people. It looked like microtransactions were going back into hiding, thanks to gamers pushing back. But sadly, that wasn't true. The dude from the 2006 forum nailed his prediction. He just didn't realize TVs wouldn't need credit cards, not when the iPhone and an app store would be releasing 1 year later. Now, we all know what the iPhone did to the human race. In only 15 years, half the world's population has adopted smartphones. What was once considered a fad is now the primary way to access the internet. I mean, there's a 99% chance that if you're watching this right now, you have a smartphone. Probably are watching this on your phone. So unlike any other computer
I'm a
advancement
PC
in the past,
gamer.
the phone would change the
better
world
technology.
unlike any other. Mostly because it made computers accessible, while also making them practically required for life. And when companies saw the potential of the App Store, the possibilities of a credit card already saved and ready to be used, mobile gaming exploded. We often hear that the gaming market is bigger than the movie and music industry combined, that gamers make up over 3 billion people. An insane number compared to people that played games when I was a kid.
You know what's the funny thing about gamers? Gamers kind of transcend different cultures. Like sometimes you make like a movie that's like an American movie. It will only maybe hit in America and maybe Europe, right? But it doesn't really resonate with like an Asian audience or like an African audience, right? Like it just doesn't hit with them. But games pretty universal in a lot of ways, so you can access more people.
Kid, I mean, if you were a gamer back then, this is how society perceived you. But now gamers are normal, right? With the number of players' stats matching close to the same amount of those who...
I don't know why, but dude, I just randomly had a flashback to that lady in her car that was like, we need to bully these nerds. I don't remember. I don't know why.
Surprising? No.
Like,
because the vast majority of these gamers are on mobile and are playing games like this. Now, I'm not trying to be elitist. I'm not sure that's possible when the news and people still think of...
I'm sure someone in the comment section said that.
I can't think of anything less interesting.
But what I'm trying to do is separate the types of gamers. Because the average mobile player is very different than the average PC or console player. They want different things and are usually very different demographics. But the whole industry saw what was happening in the mobile scene, and what came after reflects
Oh no, you guys got phones!
What was once a PC and console-dominated industry, an industry focused on one-time purchase games with an insane amount of value, had now become dominated with mobile.
This hurt my soul. I used to play a ridiculous amount of GTA back in the day when I played Xbox. I loved GTA. It genuinely was one of my favorite games. My friends and I would always play it. We loved it. And I remember grinding out heists and grinding out all this stuff, but you could never keep up. Even though I played so many hours, you could never keep up. And every once in a while, you'd get Microsoft points from your parents for Christmas or birthday or something, and I'd buy a shark card because it was the only way to keep up. There's the power creep of like, it's like the insurgent, you know, having the insurgent or having the armored Kuruma for like the mission, so you could farm more missions. Like you had like, okay, I'll buy a shark card so we can get the armored Kuruma, so we can do more of the missions and make more money through the heists. And then you do the heists and you're farming, and it's just not enough because then they nerfed eventually. They nerfed the heists, and so eventually in online play, then you needed the insurgent to not explode after one rocket, you know. And then after a while, you know, then you had the Hydra, and it's like, okay, now you need the Hydra to fight the jets. It's like, okay, all right, well then you got that, and it's like, okay, now there's homing missiles. It's like, okay, how do you beat the homing missiles? You need homing missiles, and then you had like the truck. You had the truck that you could carry around. It was like the mobile fortress with like the turret on it, and then eventually the annihilators and the fucking bikes, and you need the bikes to keep up. You know what I mean? It just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and you had to keep farming to keep up. And so every once in a while, you'd have to buy a shark card to keep up with everyone else.
Dominated
oh man!
With mobile trends.
Where's the thing in the 10 months?
Like these flashy UI, in-your-face microtransactions, and generic characters to reach a broad audience. This very mobile-esque games. I mean, it makes sense when you look at the money trail. This is how much money the mobile industry makes on average per year.
True.
And this is how much the console and PC make. Just look at the difference. Look at that growth.
Handheld consoles down here, it's like pretty much just Nintendo, I think. Maybe Steam Deck too. And then home consoles had its big spike with COVID. It's coming back down. PC gamers are eternal, slowly climbing up the ladder. Mobile gaming owns us all.
It's crazy. If you're a game studio making hits like StarCraft 2 and you see a game like Candy Crush blowing you out of the water at the same time, or digital...
Oh, the classic one WoW mount made more than all of StarCraft. Yup, it's literally pulled up at the exact same time I wanted to say it.
You might get a little annoyed too and start targeting a broad audience. I guess Oblivion was onto something with that horse armor. They were just a few years too early. All this, it didn't have to be this way. Phone games didn't start out as gambling disguised as Monopoly, as cartoon copycats or payment systems with a gaming UI milking us for all we have. Most of them adopted the one-time purchase model similar to consoles with quality games that focused on fun. You guys remember Angry Birds?
Oh, I loved Angry Birds.
When this game came out, it was 99 cents. There was no buy this bird to help you beat the next level. There was no ad every time you failed. You just played until you got bored or until it was your turn to see the dentist. But as companies like Nexon pushed the microtransaction model forward, shifting the mobile industry to in-game purchases, other developers took notice of the money pouring in. When FIFA 09 added Ultimate Team
Angry
card packs,
Birds was peak.
Everything changed.
Oh,
what should have been just a fun feature.
Fun fact, one of my friends when I was like 14, oh, sorry, not 14. I was like 2013, 2014 maybe. We used to play Madden Ultimate Team all the time, and I would kind of beat his ass. And one day, he took his mom's credit card and just literally spent like $5,000 and built a 99 overall team. And then told his mom that his account got stolen. So like they like called the company and like got the car. It was like reported as fraud and all this other stuff. And his account could never purchase anything ever again. But he still had a 99 overall team. And so he just farmed that team and just played the fuck out of Madden Ultimate Team and literally would beat everybody. And I couldn't beat him because he would just send receivers on just streaks and it just outrun everybody. It was crazy.
Instead,
it was literally pay to win.
Millions. For those that don't know how Ultimate Team works, basically it's a secondary game mode in FIFA where you build teams by opening random cards from...
Did they get a refund? They got a refund. If the credit card got... They marked it as fraud and all that stuff and he got to keep all the cards.
You can trade.
He just told his mom, he's like, I don't know what happened.
Cards, but most of the time you have to buy a pack and hope you pull something good. At release in 2009, it really just was a small optional part of the game. But like Bethesda testing the horse armor, EA was testing loot boxes, and sadly for us, they realized they struck a gold mine. Money began to pour in, way more money than expected, and players didn't push back like they did in the past. So pretty soon after, the rest of the industry followed suit. Practically every game from a AAA studio in the following years had loot boxes. Features that were once expected in a base game.
Oh god, not the loot boxes from Overwatch.
Gambling paywall. If you wanted that incredible skin or badge, and
what's funny is Overwatch was one of the ones that was originally first criticized so hard, and now years later, everybody like wants them back, and they were really good.
Modern Warfare 2.
Isn't that crazy?
You had one option. You earned it. Playing for hours to unlock certain cosmetics. But not anymore. If you want that cool skin and COD, you just buy a loot box.
Wait, is this Advanced Warfare?
The value of cosmetics changed from this prestige
I feel like that was
and
Advanced
skill
Warfare.
to rarity and dollar signs. If someone has some rare skin now, it probably means they just bought it or got lucky. Skins still may turn heads like they did in the 2000s, but not because the player did something special like beating Halo on Legendary, but because of the monetary value associated with the skin. Loot boxes got so...
I have this weird prediction, but typically it takes years for the public to come behind something. Like typically outrage starts with people and then years later everyone else kind of comes around. So, like on average, it's like if something is bad enough, like it takes people a long time. I feel like in the next 10 years, people are going to experience skin fatigue. Skin fatigue. And what by that I mean is like every game out there is chasing the live service model. They're chasing collabs. They're chasing whatever, right? And it's like at some point, people are going to finally realize that the skins don't make you play any better. You don't actually do anything. Like in Overwatch, right? Let's talk about Overwatch for a sec. I've always argued that Overwatch skins are some of the best in the game. However, they're a little bit less valuable than, say, a Valorant skin. Because in Valorant, you're always looking at the skin. It does cool things, whatever. But in Overwatch, sometimes there's some audio to it, but it's mostly like everyone around you see it. You see like their hand and the weapon, but then that's it, right? And then you see the portrait, but you don't ever actually get to see your skin. It's more the enemy that gets to see you. To me, it's always been a little bit less valuable than something else, right? But you don't need these skins to play the game. And if you take skins out of Overwatch, actually, there's a lot less content that you might have think. But to most people, they love the skins. They love it. They love it. They love it. But for how many years can you love to keep doing that? You know, like at some point, after so many years of so many games, right? Like, you know, let's say you move on from Overwatch and you move on to, I don't know, fucking Apex 2 comes out, right? You play Apex 2 for a couple of years and it's like, then you start to get fatigue and then Fortnite 2 comes out. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying like some other game, right? Like I'm only using these as examples just for talking points. And then you play that game and then you spend a bunch of money and you spend a bunch of money and then you get tired of it. And it's like, then you've spent like 10 plus years playing these games, buying all these skins and you look back and you don't even play the games anymore. And it's like, damn, I spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on these items that I never even use anymore. And it didn't make my experience any better. All I did was look at it and was like, wow, that's pretty. And I think at some point, especially like the older crowd who is the ones with this money might start to experience fatigue and just go, I don't really enjoy this that much anymore. Towards like some things today that ends up being more of the case. Like for example, esports, like people used to find being good in video games is such an impressive thing. Now you're a sweat. Now you're kind of annoying. It's like the culture's changed little by little.
In the late 2010s that they've ended up in.
But that's something that people only complained about 4 or 5 years ago, and people just say skill issue, like you just suck, get better at the game. But it's becoming more common now, where people go, "Yeah, these sweats are ruining these games." You know, it's
legal
like
disputes.
it takes years.
Certain governments banning them.
It takes years,
realizing
but it starts to come around.
And damaging they can be. Maybe microtransactions had finally met their match. Right? Maybe the government would ban them for good, and we could get back to how games should be.
Nope.
So with the fall of loot boxes, microtransactions found a new way to trick people into spending money. Battle passes. Loot boxes, long lost brother.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
Although battle passes seem less manipulative, they aren't much better. As humans, we have a psychological nature about unfinished tasks. Once our brain receives information, it stores it in sensory memory for a very brief time. But when a task isn't complete, our brain constantly rehearses it to keep the information active. That is what creates the underlying cognitive tension. Battle passes exploit this part of our nature.
You want to finish the battle pass. It's also this like, hey, I spent money on this thing, right? Like I spent money on it. I want to finish it, right?
And there's a timeline on it. So your brain prioritizes it. Can't finish it in time? That's okay. You can just pay for it. Remember,
the socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying.
And thanks to battle passes, many now feel that if you don't pay, then playing the game is a chore. Battle passes make you feel obligated and stressed to finish them because of your internal wiring. Your brain telling you to check that box, which then causes you to spend money to finish the task and get that hit of dopamine. This is why everything has a battle pass now, and why EA was happy to jump on this new gravy train with the Apex when the loot box trend was fizzling out. Fortnite is probably the most egregious with all of their story iterations.
Not me wanting to upgrade my COD to the Vault Edition for the skins. Can't even blame you either. You like want it. Like the only way you can get it is by buying it. You know what I mean? So it's like, Like, yeah, I mean, like, it's like, what do? You deprive yourself of the thing you want because you had to spend money for it, or do you spend the money for it? And it's like, if you're an adult and you know, you can pay for all your bills and you're like, you get by. Let's say you don't go out drinking. Let's say you don't go out spending money every weekend. You don't gamble. You go out with friends maybe for dinner every once every couple of weeks. Like, you don't spend a whole lot of money. Like, spending a couple bucks on yourself to have something nice at home during your hobby of playing games can be easily rationalized.
I think they've tried all the microtransaction models. I think they care that the FTC slapped them with a $245 million fine when they make billions every year off these microtransactions. No matter what happens, and no matter the changes in the iterations we go through, whether it be buying skins, loot boxes, or battle passes, there'll always be a new model, and it seems like microtransactions aren't going anywhere. And when you look at the bigger picture, it makes sense. AAA studios can't give up.
Also, 2023 half-year income statement of Activision Blizzard. I don't know if this is the same one they showed earlier. It is the same one earlier. I didn't realize it was Blizzard, though. I didn't actually take a look. That's actually insane. And you know what's funny is sales and marketing is only 13% of their spend. That's fucking wild.
Microtransactions. Imagine if a company like Activision Blizzard dropped microtransactions when it makes up 75% of their revenue. We would have a similar outcome to what happened in China when they tried banning most in-game transactions in their country.
They lost $43 billion of market value when China announced brand new gaming crackdowns. Again, $43 billion is what Elon Musk spent on Twitter. They lost a full Twitter in a blink of an eye.
And what's wild is that Activision sells
lifetime unit sales generated by COD series worldwide as of June 2022. Lifetime sales in millions of units.
Call of Duty for full price to tens of millions of people.
Look at this fucking jump right here. I mean, there's no 2020, but look at this fucking jump.
Every
That's
year,
crazy.
Making
because of the
billions
pandemic.
Selling their games for $60 a pop. And yet they still have to depend on in-game purchases for the majority of their revenue. For context, Activision Blizzard made $8.7 billion last year, if we use their half-year income statement as a representative, which means they made $6.4 billion off in-game purchases in that 1 year. The other $2.3 billion was game sales. So players can't quit microtransactions because they manipulate our behavior into buying. And companies can't quit because
Tencent and NetEase lose $80 billion in value as China announces new rules to limit gameplay spending.
Their revenue and their
hey, listen, China does a lot of fucked up shit, but sometimes they kind of be hitting pretty good in the game
stock
department.
valuations would tank. This is modern gaming. Microtransactions are why video games are worth more than the movie and music industry combined, and why we can't go back to one-time purchase games. A shift was made years ago.
I mean, think about it. Like if you think about it, just like contextualize, inflation over the last 15 years. The price of games has always been $60 until recently. You started seeing the 70. Don't forget quadruple A games. Don't forget about that. Up until then, it was still $60 till somewhat recently, right? It's been that way since I was a kid. How many other things the price has stayed $60 for 15 years, right? If it had, I feel like the other option would be to raise the price of the base game by double, $120 probably, yeah. But people wouldn't do that. People would go crazy. You can't double the price of something overnight. They'll go fucking bananas.
A subtle shift.
So this is the way they do it.
We as players did
and maybe that's why they're also upping the price to 70 and to 80. But the difference is they're not going to cut back on the microtransactions. They're going to keep the microtransactions. They're just going to bump up the bottom half.
Push back like we did with Double Dragon 3 and Oblivion. And it's
so they're just double dip.
To understand this shift, to understand the future of gaming. Because I know most of you are thinking, these companies and these executives, they're evil in that if this keeps up, the video game industry is going to hell in a handbasket, right? I've seen so many videos, I've seen posts, but most of these companies are not evil. Right? They aren't run by bad people.
I was about to say, there's definitely one.
Some, but most...
Okay, so there's some. Okay, I was going to say, there's definitely at least one I can think of.
But they aren't run by bad people. There are some, but most of the time, these are good people running these companies and developing these games. But they just don't care about video games, and they probably come from a different world. At least the executives. It sounds odd.
Executives, for sure.
Compared to everything that I've been saying, but
whenever I said this in Overwatch, people always were like, you fucking chill. And I'm like, no, the devs who design your game, love it. The people at the top don't know shit about it. You probably can ask them a question about Overwatch, like, which characters have a shield? And they wouldn't be able to answer it. I'd put good money that there are people at like the executive level of Overwatch. I could go in and I could ask them the question, which heroes have shields? Not just like shield health, which is a little bit of a trick question. You know what I mean? Like actual shields, like shield, bubble. I could ask them that question. I bet there's at least a few that wouldn't be able to answer it.
We need to understand what is actually happening if we're going to affect change. Right? And so let me break this down. Let me help you understand what is actually happening with the story. I was talking to a friend of mine a few weeks ago. Great guy. A founder of a tech company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Absolutely wild success story. And I'm a chump compared to him when it comes to building and running companies. But what's interesting is when I told him about going indie, when I told him about all these great games out there and that most just need like a little attention and a little money and a little love to be great, he interpreted this information with that software CEO mindset, with that software CEO lens. Remember, he's not a gamer. He does not understand the video game industry and all its complexity like we do. But he is familiar with mobile games and Fortnite and how they monetize, right? Like most
every exec knows Fortnite inside and out because it fucking prints money.
Non-gamers are. So
everyone chases the money.
About indie games, his mind immediately went to this thought. Imagine if we could find these great little games and monetize them like Fortnite. We could constantly push out new stuff into the game like skins. We can make the payment for these items frictionless so that they make emotional purchases, and then move on to the next game and do it again and again. Sounds really bad, for sure. And I'm paraphrasing what he said since we chatted for a few hours. But this was in essence what he was saying, and in his mind, it wasn't from a bad place. It is the way. And this mentality comes from the software investor world. And I know it well because I was a part of this world for years.
Oh, shit.
I remember pitching to a group of investors with the net worth of...
If you've been here a long time, you've heard me tell stories from when I worked corporate. That's how I kind of know a lot of this
billion in this crazy office garage. There's this river running through it, and there's Lambos and Ferraris.
Dude, people love to flex their shit, dude. That's like the whole point of buying anything like this, is just so you can fucking flex it.
Pull up in my janky little gold CRV with a missing...
This is why I like my truck. I have a very nice truck. If you know what you're looking for, you know what I have. People compliment it. They're like, holy shit, that's awesome. But I have it for me because it goes fast, it goes burr, it's nice, I enjoy it, but it's not flashy. You know, like you get yellow, you can get red, you can get all these racing stripes. It's solid jet black. That's it. I don't want it to be flashy. Don't care. A lot of people, they do care.
Tail light, and let's just say I did not fit in. But my company at the time was growing and I needed money. So I went and I pitched. My product was simple. It was this little software solution that my buddy and I built to help some students who were deaf. Didn't have huge revenue potential, but it did a lot of good. I've always been passionate about companies solving an economic and a social
didn't have a lot of revenue potential?
About helping people. Thanks to that mentality, I had won a bunch of competitions and I had made a good few sales with other passionate people in the school system who cared. So while I was at this event, I pitched with this passion, and I met investors who heard me out and were sympathetic to what we were trying to accomplish. But in the end, it didn't get any investment. There just wasn't money to be made in accessibility. The companies that got millions of investment at this event were the ones with huge market potential. And it makes sense. Investors want their money back plus some, right? The only way that happens is if the company grows a lot and then is bought by someone else, or if the company goes public. So the only way the investor gets money back. And if you go public, you now just have different investors, which are shareholders. And what do they want? Same thing. They want more growth so that they can have more money, right? So it's this never-ending cycle. And this growth cycle combined with investors and business individuals treating video games like software is why we're in this predicament. All the focus, all the investment in gaming is going towards people making games with manipulative microtransactions.
Hades music, yeah.
It's where the money is, so it's where the interest is. Basically, the people that are best at growing companies and the models that have the highest revenue potential are being prioritized over the one-time purchase games made by small, passionate teams of gamers.
The reason the play first, pay later model works so nicely is the consumer gets engaged in a property. They might spend 10, 20, 30, 50 hours on the game. And then when they're deep into the game, they're...
Yep, and then they're invested in it, and it's like, oh, it's only a few bucks. I've already put so many hours into it. I'm getting my money's worth. Isn't that right?
We're not gouging, but we're charging. And at that point in time, the commitment can be pretty high.
Which is why we don't see a lot of investment in passionate indies. We need this to change. People need to push back, not aggressively. Don't attack these big studios. Don't be those guys, but instead avoid paying for any microtransactions and continue to vocalize what you don't like, just like gamers did in the past. And if you're a developer, make sure every team member you hire is passionate about what you are making. This includes investors and publishers. Be smart about who you work with and who you bring on. It seems to be the biggest reason for the downfall of many of.
Yeah, the Blizzard story. With that book that got written, it seemed like they brought in more people that were more corporate, more profit focused, and it pushed out the people that were creative and player focused.
The studios we love, not truly caring if.
Is this good for the player?
Lastly, we need to change our perspective on gaming monetization. Microtransactions at its base isn't bad. League of Legends at release selling skins was great. It allowed Riot to give their game away for free and give players the option to pay for what they cared about. However, over monetization and manipulative practices are the problem. Using human psychology to trick people, young and old, to pay for something they don't truly want or need is the problem. It's what's damaging the gaming scene and why so many people are just fed up with the industry. This is the core reason why
examples in Fortnite. Is it because like if they don't put a price tag on it, you buy coins and then the coins later, you know, or you're spending coins, like you're only spending coins, so it's not a big deal. Like it's different than a price tag, right? Is that kind of like the route
in the first place? My hope is to bring back the fun in gaming, the human in it. I want to help people understand the good and the bad of the industry while also helping developers find success, which is why I launched a separate channel just for indie devs. The best kind of studios aren't those that make you buy through manipulation, but those that persuade you to buy because your game is just so damn good. We need gamers leading game companies again. We need indies to get the love and investment they deserve from the investors who aren't focused on manipulative microtransactions. And we need these small studios to replace the bloated behemoths of the past.
So my concern is that we've allowed the cost of production to get so tremendous that new, creative, quirky, strange, unusual games are finding it more difficult to get publishing deals or to get development dollars.
Because why risk investment? Why risk time in something that might not work when you could just do something that's tried and true and make more money off it?
Which is why 50% of our sponsor revenue goes to indie developers.
Wow, that's really cool.
A lot right now. We want to do what we can to help indies succeed. And thanks to Brilliant, today's sponsor, we get to help developers like
that's
John,
kind of a W.
An aspiring developer making.
You know, I normally skip ads, but I'm going to let it run.
We'll be getting our first grant of $500, and we hope to give thousands more to developers around the world from the Going Indie Fund. Well, what's more amazing about Brilliant, aside from them helping us fund indie devs, is they want to help educate devs as well. I've been using Brilliant for the past month, taking the designing programs course, and I already feel like my game making skills are getting better. Brilliant is a learning platform designed with first principles.
I'm glad they have such a nice
which is perfect for any aspiring
goal.
Game developers.
It sounds like they know exactly what they want to do
from the ground up, and every lesson is filled with hands-on problem solving. The method is proven to be 6 times more effective than just watching lecture videos. Plus, all the content on Brilliant is crafted by award-winning teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, Google, and a lot more. Learning doesn't take much. Just 20 minutes every day can help you become a game developer. It's the opposite of mindless scrolling and takes
heart's in the right place.
Time.
The
best part, you can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days. Click on the link below in the description or scan the QR code that's on screen right now. Also, you get 20% off an annual premium subscription if you use my code. Thanks again, Brilliant, for helping us and devs like John succeed. Make sure you go check out Brilliant. They really are great. And make sure you check out John's game, Dante's 9. He just launched his Steam page. Go wishlist it. Thanks, everyone. We'll see ya. Peace.
All right, really good video there. Random recommended this to me to go take a look. Man, starting it off with that the EA exec thing, man, I forgot about that one. That's a fucking good one. But yeah, I kind of feel the same with almost all of it. Actually, a lot of it's what I feel like I've been saying over the last like couple of years. Hopefully more stuff to play. Although I don't think you can actually beat the Titans, like the Fortnites, the Overwatches, the whatever, you know. You can't really beat them. They will just be able to pump more money always. So it's not really trying to beat them, it's just to be running parallel with them. Have your own separate track, you know.